Hello there, how are you doing? I hope you're doing good. Welcome back to this week's Mains Monday. I hope the previous week's questions which were kind of solved and discussed over here in this channel were quite helpful for you. I've been receiving a tremendous amount of WhatsApp messages and emails from your end. So I'm glad that this very Mains Monday initiative is helping you in coming up with and kind of strategizing your own answer writing. So excellent, I'm very happy. So without much further ado, let's continue with today's Mains Monday question. So let's see what is the question. The question is, social discrimination and poverty are interlinked, explain. So this is the question here. Social discrimination and poverty are interlinked. So let's see how we can solve this. All right. So as I said, now as usual, as we do it, it has three parts to it: an introduction, body, and conclusion. Now in the introduction, what we shall do is we'll define the keyword here, social discrimination. Okay, we'll try to keep it as simple as possible. Okay, so what is the introduction? Define social discrimination. So let's see. What does it say? It says it's an unfairness and inequality in the society between the individuals or people belonging to a particular social group based on their gender, age, financial standings, class, caste, religion, race, and other diversities we see in the society. So this is the introduction. All right. Now let's move to the body of the question here. Okay. Now, before I really get on to the main core of the body, I have something called as bridge point. So what exactly is this bridge point? Bridge point is nothing but the one which connects introduction to the body. No, it should not be an abrupt start. There should be kind of a bridge here in between. So what will I write in the bridge point? I'll write social discrimination leads to centralization of access to material resources to only influential groups, thereby depriving others of the same, pushing them into poverty. So let's understand different kinds of social discrimination and their effects on poverty. Now here I am giving a reason as in why social discrimination is not a good thing and how social discrimination can lead to poverty. Okay, now here I'm just giving a kind of acceleration so that we can get into the main core of the answer here. Okay, now here in the second thing, the second part of the body, that is the core part of the body, I'll mention types of social discriminations and the stakeholders who are involved there. Okay, so let's see who are those. Okay, now I'll kind of speak to you about the discriminations which SC, ST and other backward classes in the society they face, women or girls, persons with disabilities, senior citizens, and people from LGBTQ community. Okay, so let's check the the issues here one after the other. So let's go with the first one. All right, now here in each pointers I'll again divide into three categories: the discrimination they have suffered, second, how that discrimination which they have suffered or suffering links to poverty, and the third one, solution. So please understand, as a bureaucrat you're always you're supposed to kind of come up with solution. Okay, you're a problem solver, right? When you are given an administration responsibility, it's not that just to identify the problems, you have to come up with solutions also. So here we'll see if we can come up with some of the solutions, or if we can mention some of the solutions which government has already implemented through schemes and policies. Okay, so let's understand what are the discriminations suffered by SC, ST and other backward classes people here. Okay, so it says people belonging to SC and ST and other backward classes were discriminated based on their caste. So we'll first introduce, we'll say how they have been discriminated. Is it an historical proceeding or is it like quite recently which has happened? So we'll try to explain that in the very first point. They were not given equal opportunity in education and equal representation in public services. Untouchability is still prevalent in many parts of the country. In rural areas, They work more as a mere landless peasants, and major share of land and other resources are controlled by people of upper and non-SC/ST communities. This is a very important point here, right? And the next point, in urban areas, we see many of them involved in manual scavenging activities as they are deprived of basic income opportunities. So these are some of the discriminations, which the backward classes, the people belonging to backward classes are facing. Now, how is it linked to poverty? How can it create or increase their very poverty here? Let's understand that also. Okay, now here it says, due to inaccessibility to basic material resources like land and water, they are driven into poverty, which will in turn lead to impoverishment. When they don't have access to land and water, when the major portion of the land is controlled by only powerful and influential, then that will eventually lead them to poverty. Okay, now next point, untouchability restricts them from coming into mainstream and they are left to suffer in poverty. So when they are pushed aside, then they can't come into the mainstream. When they can't come into the mainstream, their opportunities to earn livelihood lessens, and when it lessens, it pushes them into poverty. So this is one of the other reason why they can get caught in the very net of poverty. Next one, due to historical discrimination in access to education and employment, they lost out on important positions in public office. So if they are not finding their place in public office, then their voices are not heard, and if their voices are not heard, then their interests, economical as well as their cultural interests, are kind of lost here. Okay, they are not given equal respect and response. Okay, the next one, they lack social and financial protection net, hence are very vulnerable to crisis. See, the people who are quite influential, who are financially very strong, even if there is any crisis in the society, they can kind of sustain that crisis. That very financial background gives them a cushion. It's like a shock absorber. But however, for people of one caste or community who are kind of deprived and who are discriminated, for them it becomes very, very difficult to absorb the shocks of financial or cultural or any kind of shocks in the nation. Okay, the last man in the standing in the queue should be served here. That should be the purpose of the government. And if that person is not served, then the very purpose of having governance is defeated. All right. So let's get on to the solution part. What is the solution which we can kind of here suggest, or if government already has in place in the names of policies or schemes? Let's check that. Solution: reservation in public employment and education. It is already in place. Now it has helped reduce inequality to a great extent, right? The next one, social sector schemes and policies like targeted public distribution scheme, Ayushman Bharat scheme, etc. Now these can play a major role in bridging the gap. Yes. Now targeted public distribution scheme, it's for somebody who are below the who come below the poverty line. And we see that the majority of the people belonging to this very backward class section, they are found in that below poverty line. So hence schemes like this and Ayushman Bharat can really help them cope up and kind of secure them health wise and eventually financially. Okay, the next one, reservation in Mudra Yojana. Now it will help gain access to financial assistance. Now we know what is Mudra Yojana, right? In that Mudra Yojana, there is a separate reservation for SC and ST applicants. Okay, now when you have a reservation, then they have an access to financial assistance, right? And they can really become entrepreneur and they can stand on their own legs and probably help others, get jobs also. Okay, the next one, Manrega, MNREGA. Now you are very well aware about Manrega. Now this will help earn livelihood and eliminate poverty. Yes, so this is also one of the very good schemes put forth by the government. Next one, Article 14, 15 and 17 and Protection of Civil Rights Act 1955. Okay, now this has led to abolition of untouchability and create an equitable society. So supported by our constitution and supported by some of our laws, the people of this community are able to kind of get an equalitarian status in the society. Okay, the next one, prohibition of employment as manual scavengers and the Rehabilitation Act. Now this act was passed by the legislature, and it implements a proper implementation of this can very well solve the manual scavenging act here. Okay, now this is quite inhumane to kind of force somebody into manual scavenging, right? So that for that we can employ machines and other technology, but not humans, right? So for that we have a prohibition of employment as manual scavengers and the Rehabilitation Act. The next one, a proper implementation of land reforms will lead to equal distribution of land and thereby reduce property. Now this land reforms were introduced in the beginning, but however it was not so successful. Apart from Kerala, in every other state it was not so successful. So however, we have to look back again into this land reforms and try to come up with strategy here, so that lands gets equally distributed, and even the poor and the people belonging to the backward classes can get access to lands and thereby help themselves come out of the poverty here. Okay, the next one, Skill India, help them gain skill and thereby improve their living standards. So here we answered some of the discriminations faced by SC and ST communities, and how this discrimination has led them to poverty and what can be the possible solutions here. Now please understand, there can be many schemes from the government to uplift the SC ST communities here, but the demand of this question is regarding the poverty, how we can take them out of the poverty. So I have limited my points only to the poverty here. So please understand. The next one, women and girls in the society. Okay, now what are the discrimination they have been suffering or have suffered, how it is linked to poverty, and what are its solutions. So let's understand. Discrimination suffered. All right, now they are not allowed to take up jobs. Yes, culturally and traditionally they are not allowed to take up jobs, and mostly are restricted to work as homemakers or housewives, who are taking care of the home. No or less access to education. They are not given access to education. In a family, a son is given more importance, right? And daughters are not given that importance. And if there is a choice which has to be made to pick between a daughter and a son, to support them for education, mostly it is seen in India that they support son, the parents support son and not the daughter. So little or no access to education. The next one, unequal pay for equal work. Though a lady or a woman is working as equally as a man, but still she is not paid as much as the man. So there is an unequal payment here. Now, that's also one of the issues and discrimination women and girls, in general female, are facing in this country. Next one, child marriage. Now she is married off at a very early age without her consent here. So that's also one of the things. And taboo regarding a menstrual cycle hygiene. So these are some of the issues which the women or the girls in India are facing, and how it is linked to poverty. Let's understand them. Okay, cultural and traditional restrictions to take up a job makes them economically dependent and vulnerable, especially single women or mothers who have to take care of their family. Now this pushes the entire family into poverty. Now as they are very much dependent on the male member of the family, let's say if that male member divorces her or leaves her or dies, in such a situation it becomes very difficult for the female member of the family to earn livelihood, right? Because she is never exposed to the job market. So that's one of the issues, how this can lead to poverty. Next, due to no education or inadequate educational qualification, they end up working in informal sector like domestic workers, maids, etc. Now this deprives them of economical stability. Now, though they don't get economical stability because of their inadequate educational qualification, they wouldn't be able to get good jobs and good employment for themselves, and they end up working as kind of maids or domestic workers, something of that sort. Okay, next one, working as homemakers doesn't count them as a contributor to GDP. Now homemaker job is a very ungrateful and thankless job. I'm sorry if I'm offending some of you here, but they are not given any financial or economical importance here. Now, have you ever seen your your female members in the family who work in house getting paid? No. If somebody is working outside in an industry, they are getting paid. Yes or no? Yes. So the domestic work, or the household work which women or females do, it is not counted in GDP. That's also one of the factors here. The next one, making ends meet becomes difficult with unequal payments for equal work. Now, if she is not getting paid properly for her work, then taking care of her family becomes very, very difficult for her, and hence again it pushes her into poverty. Due to their unequal representation in public offices, their voices are left unheard, and there is little or no action in safeguarding their economic interests, leaving them in poverty. Now, as they are not representing the entire, the female population here in the public office, their voices are left unheard. Okay, and if their voices are left unheard, their interests are not respected. Okay, so that is also one of the thing, and that would eventually lead to poverty. Due to taboo regarding menstrual cycle hygiene, they suffer huge health losses, which in turn affects them economically. They're also kept outside the mainstream. So because of this menstrual, hygiene taboo, they sometimes go through health crisis. And because of that health crisis, there is a lot of medical expenses they have to take care, again pushing them into poverty. Okay, and during those days they are also kept outside the mainstream. This is also one of the important factors which have to be mentioned. Okay, now what are the solutions? Let's understand some of the solutions here. Article 14 and 15. So Article 14 speaks about rule of law, and Article 15 speaks about the equality. Okay, now this has helped narrow the gender gap. Okay, the initiatives like Beti Bachao and Beti Padhao and other schemes for girls, now it has helped them gain access to education and opportunity to be independent. Now this Beti Bachao Beti Padhao has done a lot of good in the states like Haryana and Punjab, in the northern states, wherein the female infanticide rate has come down, and other improvements have seen. So these kind of schemes will really help girls to get educated and stand on their own legs, and kind of come out of the poverty and even take care of their family at the same time. Mahila, E-Hath and similar schemes. Now these are schemes which will help women entrepreneurs. Through these schemes, government is trying to market women entrepreneurs products. Okay, so these schemes are also very helpful in kind of empowering them financially. Proper education on menstrual hygiene will help maintain good health and prevent economic deprivation also. So a good education and a proper education without any taboo should be given in schools to the girls there, so that they can help themselves maintain good health, thereby avoiding any kind of unwanted medical expenses. Okay, now opportunity should be given for equal representation in public offices, so that their interests and voices are heard and respected. So please understand, we have this reservation in urban local body and panchayat for women. Okay, now there is a debate going on for the reservation in parliament and state legislature also. Okay, so we have to kind of debate more on this and try to see if we can do something about them. Okay, the next one, creation of a healthy work environment by giving equal pay for equal work, and by implementing anti-harassment rules like having a she box. Now this will encourage more women participate in job market. Now we have this culture in India. There is this reason why many women are not allowed to go step outside the house here. The reason being the security. Okay, now the male members of the family, they fear that if the female members go to gets inside the job market and gets employed somewhere, then they might not be secure there. So therefore we have to make sure that we give a healthy work environment for women. Okay, and we also have to implement anti-harassment laws there, like she box, that is sexual harassment e-box, wherein a woman can go and complain regarding any kind of harassment or abuses she would face in the work environment. Okay, now this is very, very important. So we now kind of discussed about the discrimination what a female or a women population in India faces, and what could be the solutions for this. The next stakeholder in the society who is kind of discriminated and who is left behind are the persons with disabilities. So let's understand what are the discrimination they suffer. They are looked upon as less humans. Just because of their disability, they are not considered as a proper human, and they are really discriminated and are looked upon as less humans. They are seen more as physically challenged than specially challenged. Now, these two words are very, very important. Physically challenged and specially challenged. They are specially challenged. They should be looked upon as specially challenged. They have accessibility issues. Yes, you have so many public infrastructure in this country, but how many of those infrastructure can accommodate a physically disabled person? Now that's the question we have to ask ourselves. So how it is linked to poverty? Let's understand that. Due to disability, they do not get good opportunity in job market, rendering them economically weak. Now we see most of the blind people selling lottery tickets outside the bus stations or railway stations. Now why do we see that? Because for them the opportunity becomes very, very less, right? And that will in turn push them into poverty. So that should be avoided at any case. Okay, what's the next point? Due to improper access to public infrastructure like bus stations, offices, etc., they can't make the best use of it. And this limits their movement and also opportunity in earning their livelihood. If the officers or if the other buildings or the public spaces or the public infrastructure like railway station, bus station, if they are not made accessible to persons with disability, if they are not constructed keeping persons with disability in the minds, then their very mobility will get limited. They will not be able to travel from one place to another. They will not be able to go to a workplace to kind of work there. So this change should be made here to accommodate them in the mainstream. Okay, now what are the solutions? Let's understand some of the solutions here. Research and disability related technology products and issues. So research should happen on disability related technology and products. Subsidies for implants and prosthetics. If there is a person who has lost his leg, then in that case maybe government can give him a subsidy regarding the prosthetic or the artificial implant here. Government is, yes, it is doing so, but however, more awareness about that should be created. Next one. Schemes like Access India will help them gain access to public infrastructure. Now, Access India is a scheme from the government. Now, what they are doing is they are trying to make the government buildings accessible to the persons with disabilities. They are trying to come up with a platform. They are trying to have these wheelchairs, there, so that if there is any person who needs wheelchair, he can use them. Right? We are able to see them, in railway stations and bus stops also, especially in metropolitan cities. Okay, the next one. Reserving certain kinds of job which involves working from desk for persons with disabilities. So any work which involves wherein they can sit at one place and they can do those kind of jobs can be reserved for persons with disabilities. Because if a person with good mobility can go around, then the person with a limited mobility can sit at a place and do the work. Skill training through Skill India scheme. So you can impart the skill training through Skill India scheme, and then you can help them. And I'm really sorry I left out a couple of points here. Establishment of more schools for deaf, dumb and blind. So we have very limited school for deaf, dumb and blind children. So we need to have more such schools, and you also have to integrate those schools with skill training centers, so that when the students graduate out, they are also skilled and they are empowered to get a job in the job market, and that can really help them to stand on their own leg, become financially independent, and kind of get out of the poverty. Effective implementation of the Persons with Disabilities Act can create more difference. Now, though we have this act, the act's implementation is not up to the mark. So the effective implementation of this very act is important. So let's understand the next stakeholder, senior citizens of our country. So what are the discriminations suffered by them? Not much concern shown as they are a non-working class. Okay, so because they are not working, as they have already retired and they're not contributing to the economy, not much concern are, is shown to them. They are left without any gratitude. That's a very awful thing, right? The next one, they are looked upon as a liability by their own family, sons and daughters. They are looked upon as a liability. Okay, that's one of the issues. No guaranteed social security. There is no any social security schemes which can guarantee them. Yes, of course there are social security schemes, but there is nothing as guaranteed kind of a thing in this nation. All right, now how these are linked to poverty, let's understand them. As they do not earn anymore, they become dependent on their sons and daughters for their living, and in case they are single, they are pushed into poverty. Now if their sons and daughters are taking care of them, okay, well and fine. If not, then what? Then maybe they have to get admitted into a vridhashram or any such old age homes and take care of themselves. And if there are people who can't even reach, who can't even access places like this, then their life becomes quite miserable and they are pushed into poverty. Okay, the next one, because of absence of a social security, they sometimes lose out their entire financial savings on health concerns. Now if, let's say, a senior citizen, he had no secure social security, no insurance or anything as such. In that case, whatever he would have earned or saved for whole of his life, that would, he would spend off on any health crisis he would face in the older age, and that would push him into poverty. Okay, now what are the solutions? Let's understand some of the solutions here. Schemes like Pradhan Mantri, Vaya Bandhana Yojana, Atal Pension Yojana, etc. can help secure financial needs. Okay, now these schemes can really help them, but more awareness about these have to be created. Higher interest rate in banks for senior citizens. Yes, if somebody is a senior citizen, then the interest rates are really high. Not to take loan, but for the deposition. All right. Now, concession in the public transport fares. Now, if they are traveling via railway or bus, the concession is given to them. Okay. Now, Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizens Act can help them with a financial security net. Now, here in this very act, the daughters or the sons have to take care of their elderly parents, and they have to kind of pay for their maintenance. Okay, a proper implementation of this will certainly help safeguard the economical and financial interests of our senior citizens. Okay, now let's understand the last stakeholder and the important stakeholder in the society here, LGBTQ community. And what are the discriminations faced by them? Let's understand. They're looked upon as less humans. Yes, just because they are neither, they don't belong to one or the other gender category, they are looked upon as less humans. They are not welcome in mainstream, often abandoned by family and society at large. They are often abandoned, right? And they are not allowed to come into the mainstream. Now there is also discrimination in healthcare and education. Okay, now how it is linked to poverty, let's understand that. As they are not allowed in mainstream, they end up landing in illegal activities or begging. Okay, and as they get into these illegal activities, there are higher chances of contracting diseases like HIV, and this might not only create health crisis for them, but also financial crisis. Okay, now what are the solutions for that? The solutions can be the Transgender Persons Protection Bill. It has been introduced in the Lok Sabha now. It is an excellent move to secure their rights. Okay, now if this bill comes out to become an act, and if it is implemented well in the society by the administrators, then this can really help bring the LGBTQ community out from the poverty and other financial crisis here. Okay, now sensitization at school and workplaces are necessary. Okay, now sensitization program should happen at workplaces. Now this will help accommodate even the people from LGBTQ community into the job market. Okay, a good incentive needs to be given, not only for the people from LGBTQ community, but also a good incentive should be given for the private companies to accommodate even the persons with disabilities. Okay, and only then they'll be able to kind of absorb more of the people from the persons with disabilities community as well as LGBTQ community. Okay, because government cannot accommodate jobs for all. Please understand. Even the private sector plays an important role, and they should be given good reasons as in why they have to kind of absorb all these stakeholders of the society. Okay, the next one, reservation can also be given to them to help them have representation in public offices. So this can also make a difference here. Okay, if reservation is given, their voices will be heard, and if their voices are heard, then their interests are protected. So in conclusion, what we can do is we can write down the importance of elimination of social discrimination. Okay, now how we can write it down? We have some following points here. Social discrimination is an impediment to the growth of any nation. Okay, we'll kind of first we'll try to put the point here as in how it is not good. And next we'll write, a democratic nation like ours can be at peace and progress only if all the stakeholders are treated equally. Our constitution makers envisioned to have a society where economical, social and political justice were prevalent. Now this is very much apparent in the preamble, right? We are having constitution for what? To secure economical, political and the social justice here. Okay, they knew that without social or political justice, which can be established by removing social discriminations, economical justice was impossible and vice versa. All these three, economical, political and social justice, all these three are interdependent and interrelated. That's what Dr. Ambedkar said. If you remove one, the other two can't be prevalent in the society. So all these three are interconnected, and all these three are very, very important. Only through social justice we can have economical justice, and only through economical justice we can also come up with social justice in the society. India is aiming to be a $5 trillion economy, and it can be made possible if all the stakeholders in the society are given equal opportunity to contribute to this dream. Not only influential groups are required here, but also those who are historically discriminated should be made part of this very journey, and they should also contribute to the nation's dream here. Okay, so I hope this was helpful for you. Now I'll share the PDF copy of this in our Telegram channel named The First, DHIFIRST, DHIFIRST. Now this is a WhatsApp, Telegram group. I'll just type it out here in case you want to search. The First. This is the Telegram channel. You can go to this Telegram channel and download the PDF version of this very mind map, and you can study on your own. In case of any doubts, you can always get back to me. This is my number here. This is my WhatsApp number. You can always WhatsApp me, or you can email me also, or leave in the comment section if there is anything which I can do to add value to your preparation. I'll be the most happiest person. Alright, so, and do not forget to like this video, share this video with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you have not done that yet, and let's come back next week with a new question. Till then, take care, all the best. Bye bye.